Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whisky. My name's PF, and on today's episode we've got another Sample Saturday, and today we are covering the new Boutique-y Whisky Company core range. Now if you haven't caught these Sample Saturday videos before, they're probably a little bit longer, mainly because I've got 5 whiskies to get through, but also I don't tend to edit these as much. They're a little bit more informal, depending on the information I get given when I get sent these sample packs, which I did today. I'll have a website open here, which you might be able to see reflected over here, but I tend to just go at it a little bit. I had some feedback fairly recently where they quite liked the off the cuff, so again today, same thing. I haven't done really any research. I've got the website open here, so I'll talk you through it when I go through each one. I haven't really tried these yet either, so I haven't written any tasting notes or anything like that, so you're not going to get deep tasting notes, just some bog standard kind of overall impressions of these things. But I think that's what really suits this format of Sample Saturday, because these aren't reviews. I'll never review samples. Really, it's just to give you an idea about what you might be getting, and maybe to bring a set of whiskies that you didn't know about into your kind of radar. But yeah, so Boutiquey Whisky Company, notorious for doing lovely half-litre bottles of stuff, just like absolutely everything. I mean, they will bottle anything good, and you know the good thing about that is that you don't always have to enjoy it, because you're trying all this other stuff. There's other stuff for you to try. If you try them in a festival and whatnot, it doesn't mean you're going to like every single one, because they'll just bottle anything, basically any distillery, whatever. But the main issue I tend to have with the boutique bottlings are I like to try before I buy, just in case. You never know quite what you're going to get, and by the time I've managed to try it, it's usually either sold out or they tend to be fairly expensive as well. Quite rightly so as well, nothing about that. But anyway, so they've now released this core range of undisclosed distilleries. Some of them are blends, some of them are single malts, but we'll go through that, each of them in turn. And they're full-size bottles, and they're all different prices. They're all 45.8%, which is an interesting touch, but I like that. But yeah, the idea is that they're going to be readily available all the time. So if you like one and you like it a lot, then you can probably go back to it and get it again and again and again. I don't know how batch variation is going to come into that, probably quite keenly. I don't know what their stocks are like. I don't know nothing about any of that. What we're going to do is just go through these samples, just like I do on all my Sample Saturday videos, and check out a casual impression of each of them. So yeah, without further ado then, let's get into these. These have been sat out for probably about 10-15 minutes, as is right. Also, I would say that there's an order to these, as you might have seen on the thumbnail, but I'll put up the graphic again just in case you didn't see it. That'll scroll over now. There's a kind of an order to this, because what they've done is they've created lovely new labels like they do with all of their bottles, and the picture of the deer gets older as the age of the whiskey goes up. Now, that starts with a 8-year-old Islay, which is probably not the best place to start a tasting. So I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start with the 12-year-old Speyside, then I'm moving on to the 30-year-old blended, then the Canadian whiskey. I was going to say rye then, but I don't think it is. Canadian corn whiskey. Then I'm going to do the Peated Highland, the 18-year-old, and then I'm going to do the Islay 8-year-old. Just based purely on experience. I've had a little sniff of these, and I think that's probably a good order. But yeah, so yeah, first one then, we're going to be checking out the Speyside 12-year-old. These are the wee little bottles that I've got, but obviously if you buy these will be in full size. This one's selling for £45, so not too bad. Like I said, these are all very informal, so I'll be scrolling down on the screen to get a little bit more information to you, because I don't have that information. So yeah, again, I'm not really sure about natural colour or chill filtration, but knowing these guys, it probably is. Although 45.8%, don't know, is the truth, don't know. Okay, so this Speyside then, undisclosed single malt, so we know it's from a single distillery somewhere in Speyside. Not really worth having a guess on that, to be honest, because there's just too many. And if they're aging in fancy casks, this one is just Oloroso. New Oloroso casks elevate the expression with caramelized nuts, orchard fruits, and smoky oak. Okay, so let's get into the nose then and see what we've got. Again, first impressions only. Okay, that's interesting. It's got a nice big lively fruity nose to it. I can sort of tell that it's sherried, but I'm not getting all of those usual, well I say usual, sometimes characteristic notes that I get, like burnt match, sulphur, that sort of thing, which is good. I like that. Yeah, nice. Let's try on the palate. Okay, that's got a really juicy, fruity mouth burst of flavour. It's saying on here it's the fruity elegance of Speyside captured in one beautiful bottle, which is interesting because when I think of Speyside, I think of orchard fruits, apples, pears, that sort of thing. Not really getting that off this, but actually that's lovely. Yeah, what a way to start. I'm into that. I've enjoyed that a lot. Now, this will be fairly quick fire, I guess, but because I'm trying these for the first time, I'm going to do a little bit of a cleanse in between each one. Not much, because it's only first impressions, but let's move on to the next one. So the next one then, we're jumping up a little bit. I've got the blended grain 30-year-old. Now, this one here, if I scroll on down, doesn't actually say about cask on this, but you can pretty much have a good guess that these are going to be refill casks, because 30 years, although a lot of it happens right at the start, you know, first couple of years of where most of the wood influence is going to happen, you wouldn't want to age in like virgin oak, I don't think. I think it would be too much. But what do I know is the truth. So yeah, they haven't really mentioned anything about cask types on this. Just that old grains are good, and I like old grains. So yeah, let's see what we've got. Again, I'll show you these colours, but it's really inconsequential when we're not sure on the nose. I mean, it's, yeah, unmistakably grain whiskey. Again, you wouldn't want to have a guess on which distillery we're talking about here, because grain is much of a muchness. It's, especially over the years, it all evens out, and any distillery characters probably evened out a little bit, but it's got a lovely nose, a lovely grainy nose. Standard fare, kind of butterscotch, vanillas. Quite a high amount of tannins, as you'd expect for that many decades. Let's have a little go on the palate. Okay. Yeah, it's again distinctly grain. Interestingly, you know, you've got more of those butterscotch, honeys, vanillas. If I'm honest, if I'm very honest, not as good as I was expecting it to be. Now I love grain whiskey, as I'm well known to love. So I think I probably came into that with very high expectations. It's quite expensive. It's £75, which isn't bad, but I don't know. It's a single malt, I think. No, sorry, it's a blended grain. So yeah, a mixture of different grains. But I mean, in my head, I'm comparing this to a grain that I've got or had over on my shelf, which is the Girvan 31 that Master of Malt did, same company, and that is stunning. And that was like 70 quid. So it's in that same bracket. It's not quite as good as that, which is probably an unfair expectation, to be honest, but it's a lot of money. It's entirely possible that I didn't give it enough time to air, because it's been out for 10 minutes and probably should be a bit longer, right, with 30 years. But yeah, if I'm honest, a touch disappointing, but that's just me being honest on that. Not a bad whiskey at all, just probably too high expectations. There you go. Right, next one then. We're moving on to the Canadian Whisky 8-year-old. I'm not even sure if you can see that, but yeah. This is a bit of an interesting addition to this. I'm enjoying this because this is, I mean, obviously Canadian whiskey, we don't tend to see much over here. Obviously you can get your bog standard stuff, but to get really interesting Canadian whiskey doesn't tend to find its way over here too easily. You can get it, but they make a lot of good whiskey and they keep it all to themselves. So the point I'm trying to make is it's kind of impressive that they've got this. But yeah, this one here is an 8-year-old Canadian corn whiskey, matured 100% in Oloroso cask, which I don't think I've ever tried a Canadian corn whiskey in Oloroso casks before. I don't know. This one's got a different label. All the other ones had a deer. This one's got a moose on it, which, you know, obviously reflects that Canadian heritage. This one's got a really deep dark colour, which leads me to believe these probably are natural coloured, but again, let's get onto the nose. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm going to come back to the nose because I'm not really sure what I'm getting there. Oh, that's beautiful on the palate. Okay, let's go back to the nose. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's weird. It's really nice. It's really nice, but it's really hard to pin down. What I'm trying to decide is if in a blind tasting I would be confused if this was a bourbon or not. And I think yes, I would be confused if this was a bourbon or not. Like, I'd be smelling this and going, I'm kind of getting those corn vibes. It's definitely a bourbon. And I would be obviously incredibly wrong, as I usually am in blind tasting, but there's a little bit of that burnt matchness on the back end for this, so giving away that kind of Oloroso, but that's interesting on itself. Yeah, there's not a hell of a lot going on the nose, I have to say. It's quite understated, especially in comparison to the palate, which I'm going to now try again. Oh yeah. I mean, that punch is way above the 45.8% ABV. Again, would be very confused with that in a blind tasting. Tastes quite a lot like bourbon. It has got, again, something weird about it, and obviously I know that that's the Oloroso casks kicking in, but in a blind tasting I would have no idea what I was tasting. It's very interesting. Actually, I'm really enjoying that. That's lovely. That's knocking in at £37 on Master of Malt, which is actually the cheapest of the lot. And I imagine after this video, quite a lot of people were going to go to that because it's certainly the most interesting one I've tried so far. You're definitely going to have to, if you're going to go for this, if you're going to go for any of these after my comments, I would say the Canadian, I think you've got to be into bourbon to get some enjoyment out of that. If you really don't like bourbon, probably avoid it. If you're open to the idea of it and you want to try something really interesting, I think that's actually a really cheap way of getting some Canadian corn whiskey. I'm a little bit perplexed how they've managed to get that for so cheap, to be honest, because we know the age. I would have assumed it would be younger, but 8 years is pretty good for a North American spirit. Okay, let's have another look at this and we'll move on. Okay, now we're moving on to the peat stuff. Now, the next one, I've chosen to do the Peated Highland 18-year-old next, mainly because I think the 8-year-old Islay is going to blow my palate, which, you know, we'll see. What do we know about this one? 18-year-old. So this one's got a lot of cask influence to it. So obviously 18 years old, Highland single malt. This is. It's peated, so I'm assuming it's peated malt, and then it's aged in ex-bourbon, ex-Oloroso, and ex-PX casks. So there's a lot to pick apart in this one. Again, nice colour, fairly acceptable. 18-year-old, and this goes for 80 quid. So this is the most expensive in the range, but for a 18-year-old single malt at the moment, probably about right if you're into that sort of thing. Let's check it out on the nose. Okay, interesting. Lots of briny coastal notes coming from this, which is making me scratch my head about what this could be. Right, there's a lot of it's narrowed down versus Speyside for sure, but I don't know. Yeah, all right, you could waste a bit of time by thinking about what distilleries these are, but kind of the fun about it is not knowing, I guess, or maybe even in the searching. We'll see. Struggling to get past the brininess. Could be an Ardmore or something like that. I said I wasn't going to guess, but there you go. Right, let's try on the palate. Okay. It's got a nice, thick, viscous feel to it. Obviously, peat, more of that briny coastal note coming on. There's a little bit of vanilla on the back end. I'll tell you what I'm not getting, any sherry at all. Not getting it on the nose. Not getting it on the palate. Interesting. Do you know what? It's a lovely dram. It really is a lovely dram. I'm trying to decide now whether it's 80 quid's worth, but obviously that's a really, really small amount of whiskey to understand exactly what's going on. What I can tell you is it's good quality. The age makes a difference, for sure. I don't tend to worry too much about age versus the cost, because it's just not something that I can afford usually anymore. You know, gone are the days when I could regularly afford an 18-year-old Scotch, but yeah, it's good. I like it. I like it. That's going to be one that you spend some time with, for sure. For sure. Okay. Finally, then we have the back to the start of the range, the 8-year-old Islay. I think again this is a single malt, but let me just double check. Yeah, a single malt. A marriage of refill casks, bourbon hogshead, and sherry octaves. Gives this one a hearty and complex character, so they say. Okay, again, nice, slightly above straw colour. It's nice. Okay, let's try on the nose. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, unmistakable Islay. That is huge. I mean, again, it's with the peat and the coastal notes, but the smoke and the peat in this is so much deeper. A little bit of lemony, lemongrass kind of vibe. I mean, a betting person would say Kalila, because they tend to be the ones that sell most to IBs, but genuinely no idea. Could be any of them, really, apart from Laphroaig. I don't think it's Laphroaig. Laphroaig is distinctly ashen and kind of like dirty ashtray. You know, I'm not getting this. Let's try it on the palate. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. I love it. I love peat. Again, not getting a whole heap of any sherry at all, even though it's got some in there. Definitely the kind of normal casks, the refill, and the bourbon hogsheads. Definitely getting those in there. Vanilla's behind, a little bit more of that lemon, but it's really just peat. That's selling for what, 42 quid. So you've got, in terms of price structure, then you've got the Canadian 37, the Islay at 42, the Speyside, at 45, then a big jump to the grain at 75, and then the Highland peated at 80. So a big gulf, and it all depends on your pocketbook, right? So you're going to have to decide what kind of flavour profiles you want to go for, how much money you want to spend. Now, I'm going to grade these, because I think that's important. Including the price. I'm going to include the price, because I actually think the cheaper end of the spectrum for me is the more impressive, based on the price that you'd have to pay. So for me, the 8-year-old Islay and the corn, the Canadian corn, are exceptionally good value, I think, I have to say. Exceptionally good value. I think the Speyside is very good. 45 quid is not too bad. Starting to push it up. I'd like it to be a bit cheaper, I think, but that's just my personal preference. Now, the grain. Now, this is going to be really weird, right? Because I really love aged grain, but that's my least favourite of the day. But again, I will caveat that with what I said earlier, and that's that I probably went into it with larger expectations. What I'm going to have to do is another quick swish of this. Now that my palate's completely blown, but let's see what happens, right? Yeah, I mean, look, it's lovely. It's lovely. And I'm trying to decide whether I think you'd be disappointed if you bought it or not. I don't know. It's the truth, I don't know. But on here today, it's my least favourite of the lot. With the 18-year-old and the 12 kind of split in that fourth spot, so they could be interchangeable, third and fourth. And then it's the Canadian, and then I think my favourite is the Islay. But that's just me being basic. I think I do love a peated drink. Really interesting core range. I love that they've managed to do this. I love that they're keeping the distilleries a secret. I don't want to know, and if you do find out, then fine. But like I said earlier, I think the enjoyment is the not knowing. There you go. Let me know if you're interested in these, if you want to try any of these, if they're on your radar. Hopefully they are now. Check out the description below, because I'll put links to all of these and their kind of individual bottlings from Master of Malt, so you can go check them out if you want. But yeah, let me know what you think of this core range. I've enjoyed tasting today, and lovely to explore a new range, as I always say. That's me done then, so I'll join you again on another kind of review soon, and more Sample Saturdays coming up. Cheers.